Hi everyone, my name is Sanjeev. In this video, I will demo how to deploy Anypoint Flex Gateway in Kubernetes Cluster and how to secure non-mule APIs using Anypoint Flex Gateway running in Kubernetes Cluster as a load balancer. This is the page to install the Flex Gateway in Kubernetes Cluster under mule documentation. To deploy the Flex Gateway in Kubernetes Cluster, we need to have a following prerequisites. We need to have a Anypoint platform access. We need a Docker. We also need Helm, and we need to have a kubectl command line tool. To install the gateway in Kubernetes cluster, we can also use the cloud-based Kubernetes cluster. For example, we can use Amazon EKS, or we can use Azure AKS, or we can also use the Google GKE. For production environment, we need a Kubernetes cluster hosted in cloud-based services, or you need to have a Kubernetes cluster installed in your servers. For development, for just practice, you can also use a lightweight Kubernetes like a K3S or a K3D, or you can also use the Minikube. In this demo, I'm going to use Minikube, and here is the minimum requirement of a Kubernetes cluster. You need to have at least one node, and cluster need to support the creation of service resource of load balancer type. In fact, Flex Gateway supports following services. It supports the cluster IP, node port, load balancer. These are the Kubernetes service type that are supported by Flex Gateway. Now I will go to the Anypoint platform, and here I will go to the runtime manager. I will go to the Flex Gateway, and here I will add the gateway. I'm going to select the Kubernetes. I will run these command to install the Flex Gateway in Kubernetes cluster. I will start with the Docker pull command that pulls the Flex Gateway image. I will start the Docker. Let me remove the previous containers. I will keep the Flex Gateway image. Now I will go to the command prompt. I have created a folder Flex Gateway, Flex registration. I will start the CMD here. Here I will run the Docker pull command to pull the Flex Gateway image. I have already installed the Flex Gateway image. That's why it's showing it's already up to date. Now I will register the gateway. So let me go to the Anypoint platform first. I will go to the runtime manager, Flex Gateway, and here I don't have any Flex Gateway. All the gateway are in deleted status. Now I will copy this command, register your gateway. And I will paste it here in Notepad. I will do few changes in this command. I will replace first backslash with the caret because in Windows command prompt, I have to have a caret to split the single line in multiple line. So I will do replace. I have replaced the backslash with the caret. Now I will find out the UID, value of UID. I will go to the gatways, and here I will type echo enter, and we got the value of UID. I will replace here. Now this is a present working directory. So this is the folder I created flex registration, and that's where I will run the command. I will copy this path and I will replace it here. pwd command runs in Linux, but it does not gives any value in the Windows command prompt. So that's why we replace with the full path here. So this command will do registration. We are going to send the organization that is already we got it when we got the command from here. So our organization has already pulled and they built this command and put it here the value of organization, and they also gave us the token. So token will be recognized by Anypoint platform control plane when we will send this registration request. So token will be used. So in place of token, we can also use the Anypoint user password. We can also create a connected app, and we can provide the client ID and client secret. But in this case, we already have token and we are going to use this token for registration. And here connected is equal to true. That means we are going to deploy Anypoint Flex Gateway in a connected mode. So we have all the values here. We did modification. Now I will provide a gateway name. I'm going to secure the Spring Boot APIs using this Flex Gateway. So I will give the name Spring Boot Cube Gateway. We are going to secure the Spring Boot APIs, and we are going to use the Kubernetes cluster to deploy the Flex Gateway. That's why I'm giving the name Spring Boot Cube Gateway, but you can give any name here. Let me copy this command and I will go to the registration folder, and here I will run the cmd command. Paste it, enter. So starting registration, let's go to Anypoint platform. So we got one record, Spring Boot Cube Gateway. So it's got registered. It is in disconnected status right now. So our command was successful. Let's see, we have this file got created. So we have this file is got created. It have a TLS detail and the name of the Flex Gateway that we provided. We have seen this file in previous video, so I will move to the next step. Now I'm going to add Flex Gateway Helm chart. So I will run this command. I will copy this command. It's saying Flex Gateway has been added to repository. Successfully got the update from Flex Gateway chart repository. Update complete. Now I will deploy the gateway and connect to the control plane. But before that, I need to run the command here. That is a Minikube start. It's creating Minikube cluster that will be used as a Kubernetes cluster. It's downloading Kubernetes 1.38.3. Our cluster will be ready in a few minutes. So Kubernetes image has been downloaded, then container got created. kubectl now configured to use a Minikube cluster. So we have Minikube cluster. So this is the detail. We can also run the command Minikube dashboard. It's launching the dashboard. So we got the dashboard here. Here we can see the cluster role binding, namespaces, nodes. So we have Minikube nodes here. These are namespaces. We have Kubernetes service. So we have Minikube cluster, Kubernetes cluster. I will go to the Anypoint platform now and I will deploy and connect the gateway now. Copy. I will copy the command here. I will replace the backslash with the caret. Okay, so we replace the backslash with caret. Now I will run this command. It will deploy the Flex Gateway in connected mode and it will connect to Anypoint platform. So I'm going to run this here. It is installing the Ingress release. Let me go to the Anypoint platform. Our Spring Boot Cube gateway has been connected and it is deployed. This process sometimes takes time to come out. So let it be there like this. Our gateway is already connected and it's deployed. We can go to the dashboard again. Here we can change the namespace and we can see that we have a new namespace gateway. Let's go to the workload. So we can see that deployment, we can see the pods, we can see replica sets, they are running. We have Ingress deployment and that's where our Flex Gateway is running. This is a pod name and this is replica sets. We can run these commands also, so we can get the detail using these commands. So I will run these commands in one shot. Let me start the new command prompt. CMD, pasted. So we got a similar detail. Somewhere we have a brief detail, somewhere we have more detail. So we can see that we have Ingress detail, that is a type is load balancer. So our service is load balancer and this is the port detail. Similarly, here we have a describe command that is describing Ingress under gateway namespace. So we have all this detail. We have exposed the HTTP on port 80. Similarly, we have HTTPS on port 3 and this is node port for HTTPS and this is a node port for HTTP. So we have all this detail. So we can get this detail using these command. Let me click enter. Here also we can see the app is Ingress and namespace is gateway, release name is Ingress, this is cluster IP and here is the port detail. App is Ingress, type is load balancer. So we can take the help of these command to get the more detail about the Ingress service, load balancer. We can also see some detail here in dashboard. Now I'm going to secure the APIs. Spring Boot API. So I will go to the Spring Boot and I will start my Spring Boot services. I will go to Hello, CMD, and here I will start the Hello API. I will run the Maven command to start the Spring Boot API. So Spring Boot API is starting and it is starting on port 8091. Let me start the greeting API now. CMD and I will run the command to start the greeting API. Greeting API has started. We can access these APIs, hello and greeting API. I will go to the browser and here I will go to the localhost 8091 because hello API is running on 91/API/hello. So this is a response from hello API. Hello there. This is hello API. Similarly, I can get the response from greet API/greeting. So this is a response from greeting API, greeting, hi there. This is a greeting API. We can also use my laptop IP address. So let me go to the CMD IP config, and I will copy this my laptop's IPv4 address. So instead of localhost, I will use my laptop IP address, and we are getting response. Let me change the port. Let me access the hello API. So both API is working using my laptop IP address as well. Now I'm going to Anypoint platform. I will use this gateway to secure my Spring Boot APIs. So I will go to the API manager. I will add the API, new API. I will select the gateway that is connected, that is deployed. Create new API. Here I will give the name Hello API, asset type HTTP API. Click next. Port is 8081, but I will change to 80 because our Ingress controller is running on port 80. You can see that here. So we have HTTP port 80. So that's why we have to provide the port 80 there. I can close this tab. For base path, I will say /API. Click next. Hello API route. For upstream level, I will give hello API, and here I will copy the URL of my hello API. I will leave the hello and I will copy the everything else. So I have the upstream URL. Click next. So this is my hello API. This is the Flex Gateway. This is the port. This is the base path, and this is the URL that I provided. Save and deploy. So our API has been deployed. Now we can access the API through the gateway. So let me get the port. I will run this command. So we can access the port 80 using this URL. This URL can run inside the container only. The tunnel got started, so we can use this URL to access the Ingress controller, Flex Gateway. Okay, this got disconnected. Let me start the tunnel again. Let me copy the URL, Control C. So I will go to the browser. So here we are accessing the Spring Boot API, Hello API directly. Now I will access it through the Flex Gateway /API/hello. So we are accessing the API through the gateway and we are getting the response. Now I'm going to secure this API in Anypoint Manager. So I will create policies. I will add policies. I will add basic authentication, simple policy. Click next. I will give the username Spring Boot H and same password. You can give any username password. Click apply. This policy has been applied on Hello API. Now if I will access this API, it will ask to enter user password. So I'll enter user password, sign in. Now with the help of user password, I'm able to access the API. We can also apply the rate limiting policy. Click add policy, rate limiting, next, number of requests 2, In 1 minute, expose header, click apply. Rate limiting policy also has been applied. Now, if I will access this API more than 2 times, it will give the error. First access, second access. Now I'm accessing third time in a minute. I got too many request error. So we secured the API using Flex Gateway that is deployed in Kubernetes cluster. Now we can add one more API. So I will go to the APIs. We have to do few modification here in Hello API first because we have right now only one port open, port 80 for a Flex Gateway. So I will go to the settings, and here to use the one port, single port, we have to have base path different. So I will give the base path /API/h and save and apply. Here we are deploying the multiple APIs on same port, on same Flex Gateway port. Now we should not able to access using this URL. So I have to change the URL /API/h/hello, and we are able to access it. Now I will add one more API here. Greeting API, add API, add new API, select the connected Flex Gateway, click next, create new API, greeting API, type HTTP API, click next. Let me copy the URL of greeting API. So this is a URL. I will copy everything till /API/. Here port, we have only one port right now on Flex Gateway, so I will use 80. Base path API/g, click next. Here I will give the route name greeting API route. I will paste the URL that we just copied for greeting API, and for label I will give greeting API. Click next. So this is a Flex Gateway, this is API port 80. So we are deploying multiple API on same port. This is the base path, and this is the URL where actual upstream greeting API is running, Spring Boot API is running. Save and deploy. So our greeting API also deployed. Now I will get the port and IP address to access externally. So I will go to the command prompt, Control C, run the command again. I will copy this URL, API/g/greeting. Okay, we got the response, greeting, hi there, this is a greeting API. So we are accessing the greeting API also on port 80, and we are accessing through the Flex Gateway. Now I will secure this API. I will go to the greeting API, policies, add policy. I will select basic authentication, simple, click next. I will give username Spring Boot G and same password. Apply. Policy has been created successfully. Let me access it. Now it should ask for user password. So I will give the username Spring Boot G, sign in, and we got the response. So this API is secured, greeting API also secured. Now we can apply the one more policy, rate limiting. For number of requests, 4 time period 1 unit minute. So every fifth request should give the error. Expose header, apply. Policy has been applied. Let me go there. Click enter. First request, second request, third request, fourth request, and fifth one should fail. Okay, let me try again. Okay, this is the fifth one. So fifth request is failing, too many requests. So rate limiting policy also applied. Both the policy applied on greeting and hello API is already secured. So greeting and hello API is secured using Flex Gateway that is running in a Kubernetes cluster. Now I will go to the Anypoint platform. Now, as you know that our hello API and greeting API is running on the same port. If you want to run the hello API on port 80 and greeting API on port 8081, then we have to add a new port in Ingress Kubernetes service. So for that, I will run this command kubectl edit service ingress -n gateway. Okay, I can open a new command prompt. So I will edit this ingress service. Here we can see the ports. This is an ingress cluster managed by Helm. So we have HTTP port 80, target port 80. So I'll copy this. I will give the name HTTP 8081. Node port, we can remove it. Protocol, we can remove it. Target port, we can remove it. I will give the port 8081. And once I save it, we will get the node port and target port back. Target port would be the 8081, but we don't have to provide it here. So we added a new port here, 8081, and we already have port 80. And we will deploy greeting service on 8081. Save it. I will close this file, and we can see that ingress service edited. We can go back, we can see the value is still there. So we have HTTP port 80. We will use this for hello service, and we have HTTP port 8081, port 8081, target port also 8081. So we will use this port for greeting service. So let me go to the Anypoint platform. First, I will change hello service a little bit. Settings. And base path, we don't need /h. We don't need /API/h. /API sufficient because we are using different port now. Save and deploy. Okay. Right now, this is not working this way. So what I will do, I will go to the list of APIs. First, I will delete this API. Delete API, delete. Now let me go to the Exchange. And I will delete it from here as well. Now I will go to the API manager. Now I will change hello API. Now I will change the base path and I will save and apply. So changes are getting deployed and they are applied. Let me go to the here. Let me access it. We don't need now H, we can directly access it. Hello, Spring Boot H, and I will give the same password, sign in, and we are able to access it. Now I will go to Anypoint platform, and here I will add the greeting API again. Add API, select the Flex Gateway, click Next, create new API, greeting API, HTTP API, click Next. 8081. So in this case, I'm using port 8081. In case of Hello API, we use the 80 port. Base path API is fine. Click Next. I will add the route, greeting API route. I will add the label greeting API upstream URL. I will copy the URL where the greeting API is running. I will copy all the way till /API/ and I will copy it here. Click Next. So here is the Anypoint Flex Gateway. This is the port. This is the base path of the greeting API. So we are accessing now on 8081. Save and deploy. So our greeting API also added to the Flex Gateway. It is using Flex Gateway port 8081. Let me close the added Ingress service. No change because we didn't change anything. Now I will run the command to create the tunnel. So now we can see that we have a port 80, we have port 8081, and we have 443 port for HTTPS. And here we have 3 URL to access these ports from outside. If you want to access from a container, you can directly use these ports, but we are going to access from the outside from browser. So I will copy this. This URL is for Hello API. So I will go to here, paste it, /API/hello. Okay, we are able to access Hello API. Let me enter the username, password, sign in, and we have the access. If we'll try 3 times, we should get error. We got the error. So we are accessing the API that is using Anypoint Flex Gateway port 80. Now I will get the URL for the greeting API, and here I will paste it, and I will change this /greeting. So we got the response. We deleted this API in Anypoint platform and recreated it. So we need to apply the policy again. So I will go to the greeting API, policies, add policy. I will apply the basic authentication simple, username Spring Boot G, apply. So we applied the basic authentication policy. Let me apply the rate limiting. In 1 minute, fifth should fail. Expose header, apply. So policy has been applied to greeting API. Let me go and invoke it now. If I will invoke it, it should ask for user password. Sign in. We are able to access after entering user password. First request done, second request, third request, fourth request, fifth request is failing. So both API is still secured, but now we are using different port. Hello API is using Flex Gateway port 80, and Greeting API using Flex Gateway port 8081. So we are using different port. I have to close this, enter. So here you can see that in Ingress service, namespace gateway managed by Helm, kind service, and its cluster. We have HTTP port 80 for Hello API, and we have HTTP port 8081 for Greeting API. We are using HTTP and accessing Hello on 80 and Greeting on 8081. And we are not using right now 443 HTTPS. So first we added a Hello API and Greeting API on same port, same Flex Gateway port 80. And later on, we added one more port in Ingress service, and we added a Hello API on port 80, and we added a Greeting API on port 8081. So we use different port. And we applied the policies, and we were able to secure the Hello API and Greeting API. I hope you understood how to deploy the Flex Gateway in a Kubernetes cluster and how to add APIs to the Flex Gateway that is running in Kubernetes cluster and how to secure the API using policies. And I also showed you how to add multiple APIs on the same port. And I showed you how to add the multiple APIs on different port by adding one more extra port in a Kubernetes Ingress service. So this is all in this video. If you like this video, click the like button and subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.